Alright guys, welcome back to Queens of the Damned, a horror podcast. We are finally back after our little hiatus, and we are so excited to be back, especially doing this episode, one we've wanted to do for a while. We are doing a tribute slash mostly a thank you to Guillermo del Toro this week. We're doing a deep dive into kind of his life and his filmography, because he is someone who inspires us and someone whose work we just admire, and just someone as a person in general that we admire. So we do a biography following his life and his journey in the filmmaking and special effects world, and Nikki and Rachel chose their favorite movies by him and kind of talk about why those are their favorites and the themes involved in those movies. Alright, so Guillermo del Toro was born October 9th, 1964 in Guadalajara, Mexico. He loved the macabre from childhood and decorated his house with spooky decorations all the time, which was not his grandmother's favorite thing. He was raised Catholic, and he describes his childhood as morbid, and he thinks that being raised in a Catholic household is what made him intolerant of authoritarianism.
I hear that.
Yep. He originally wanted to be a biologist, apparently, but at only 8 years old, he started making dark fantasy films with his father's Super 8 camera and some Planet of the Apes toys. Yes.
That's cute.
Yeah. He often created the stories to help escape from the violence that he witnessed in his hometown. But the videos scared his grandmother to the point that she would place metal bottle caps in his shoes as a form of penance. And then she apparently tried to exorcise him twice. I found that on one website. I don't know if that's true, but someone said that. And then he started making movies in high school, like little short films and stuff, and eventually studied film at the University of Guadalajara. And he learned about movie makeup from Dick Smith, who worked on The Exorcist.
I forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And then he ended up spending most of the 80s doing special effects makeup. And he then co-founds Necropia, which is a special effects company. And then in 1986, he marries Lorenza Newton and has 2 daughters. But he and his wife divorced in 2017. Then he writes and directs several episodes of a horror TV series in the 80s called Hora Marcada. Probably didn't pronounce that right. And then he has his first feature film out in 1993 called Kronos. It won 9 Ariel Awards from the Mexican Academy of Film, and it won the Critics' Week Grand Prize at the Cannes Film Festival. So right out the bat, he was doing a great job. And then his next film, Mimic, came out in 97, and then The Devil's Backbone in 2001. And then, I didn't know this. This was brand new to me and very shocking. In 98, his father was kidnapped and held captive for 2 months.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my
That
god.
sounds about par for the course.
Yeah.
For where he's from.
Oh, well, yeah.
That part of Mexico is not a nice part of Mexico.
Yeah. But I believe, I can't remember who it was, somebody helped him pay the ransom, but he paid the ransom, and then with his father back, they moved to the U.S. So just, like, got the hell out of there, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah, that's intense. And then he assists in the creation of comic book adaptations like Blade 2 and Hellboy. And then he creates Pan's Labyrinth in 2006, and that wins Academy Awards for makeup, art direction, and cinematography. Next up is Hellboy 2 in 2008. And then he co-founds another visual effects company called Murata in 2010. He has such a long filmography. This is like a lot.
Yeah.
And then in 2012, he assists in the creation of Peter Jackson's The Hobbit movie series. I guess he was originally set to direct, which I didn't know that, but then he stepped back and Peter Jackson took the reins on it.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't hear about that.
I can't remember why he stepped down. I think it was something like there were so many delays in production that finally he was like, look, I'm committed to other stuff. So,
yeah,
like,
that makes
I
sense.
gotta go.
I can't imagine what it would have been like with him in charge of it.
I wish that he had done it, because honestly,
Yeah.
I don't care for the Hobbit movies.
I don't
think
either.
that Martin Freeman is amazing and born to play Bilbo. Mm-hmm. And was, like, wasted in kind of, like, not great movies.
I agree. They would have been a lot better if I think he had taken control of them. There would have been more practical effects, too, I guarantee it, because the CGI was so bad in those movies. Instead, he does Pacific Rim, which came out in 2013. I love Pacific Rim. We are Pacific Rim fans in this house. I bought my dad a, like, little Pacific Rim action figure that he keeps in his box.
Aww.
We love those movies. And then in 2014, he adapts his book series, The Strain, which he co-wrote with Chuck Hogan. Again, I love those books. And actually, my mom just reminded me of this. When I finished those books, I tweeted at Guillermo del Toro because I was really depressed by the ending. And I was like, why would you end it like that? It's so sad. And he was like, but it's not sad. It's beautiful. And I completely forgot that Guillermo del Toro tweeted me.
Oh my god.
That is such a GDT thing to say.
It really is. It's like, it's not sad.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I think I, like, lost my shit for a second there when I saw that he responded. I was like, whoa.
Well, yeah.
So that happened. I have to go back through my Twitter and find that. Because I think it used to be on my Instagram, but then I deleted everything off my Instagram a while ago. But anyways, I love the Strain books, and the series that he adapted is also amazing. I, like, did this really long report on it for when I was in college, too, about how great it is for the vampire mythology and stuff like that. Then comes Crimson Peak in 2015, which we've talked about on here. It's one of our favorites.
Yay. I almost did it twice on accident.
It's such a beautiful movie. I love it. Mm-hmm. And then he adapts Troll Hunters into a Netflix animated series, which he originally co-wrote with Daniel Kraus, and that is actually a really great series too. I watched that for a little while. Oh, The Shape of Water follows in 2017, and it's nominated for 13 Academy Awards and wins 4. And then Troll Hunters is eventually deemed the best children's series after it ended up being the most watched on Netflix, which that surprised me because I don't feel like anyone's heard about it. Del Toro also wins an Oscar, a Golden Globe, and the BAFTA for Best Director. Just last year, the Jenkins Del Toro International Film Scholarship was created by the Guadalajara International Film Festival. The scholarship promises $60,000 to a Mexican filmmaker and allows them to study abroad at a renowned film institute.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And no one can see me nodding right now. So.
It's great. Del Toro said, if we change a life, if we change a history, we change a generation. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then he also revealed At Home with Monsters, an exhibit that showcases paintings, drawings, sculptures, and concept work from his movies. And the exhibit made its way through Guadalajara, Mexico City, and even came to Los Angeles. In April of 2018, he signed a deal with Fox Searchlight to make horror and fantasy live-action films. He commented, "For the longest time, I've hoped to find an environment in which I can distribute, nurture, and produce new voices in smart, inventive genre films and channel my own. In Fox Searchlight, I found a real home for live-action production, a partnership based on hard work, understanding of each other, and, above all, faith." And I guess because of their deal with Guillermo del Toro, they've created, like, a whole subset of their company specifically for, like, horror, thriller, dark fantasy. So...
This is what makes me wonder, because Fox Searchlight is now owned by Disney.
Oh.
Because Disney bought 20th Century Fox. So I think Disney was saying, like, Fox Searchlight, because they do, like, the more, like, artsy movies.
Yeah.
Or, like, independent movies, you know, that are not made by big-name directors. So I think they said that they were going to let them continue to do their own thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious to see what... if any effect that has. I mean, I hope nothing. I mean, I would imagine that, like, I mean, Disney didn't make all this money by being stupid. So
Right.
I think they know that with him, they're sitting on a gold mine. Mm-hmm. You know, but
Yeah.
I'm interested to see what happens with that.
I can't remember when... Oh, I said it. April of 2018. So that was over a year ago. And I didn't see anything recent on it. So hopefully nothing's changed.
Yeah.
And then I didn't put this in my notes, but when he received his awards for The Shape of Water, he was like the cutest person ever, and he was so excited. And they tried. I think they tried taking the mic away from him, and he was like, "No, let me enjoy this."
They like make a half-hearted effort at the Oscars to play like the big stars off, but as soon as they say no, I'm not done, they quit playing.
Yeah.
He was so excited, and I was really happy for him that he won.
He really deserved it.
Mad respect for this guy now. Like, I've watched several of his movies before, but Shape of Water for me was like the one for some reason that just drove it home.
Yeah.
And like, there's something so childlike and innocent about him, the way he approaches what he loves, and it's amazing and totally refreshing.
And I think he's definitely someone where you can just see the love of what he's doing, and the love of movies, and the love of monster movies. I mean, because that At Home with Monsters, I mean, it was like, you know, because of course people were posting pictures like all over Twitter and stuff, and it wasn't just stuff from his movies, but it was like sculptures that he has in his home of like Frankenstein, the Bride of Frankenstein. I mean, his house, like he has posted pictures of his house on his Twitter, and it's like a dream. He has an entire room in his house dedicated to the Haunted Mansion from Disney World, which is like my favorite ride at Disney World. And so I that's kind of like my dream project for him. I think at one time he was set to make a Haunted Mansion movie for Disney and then didn't end up doing it.
No.
So I'm hoping now, I didn't know about this Fox Searchlight deal. So I'm hoping now that he's in with Fox Searchlight, who is owned by Disney, we can circle back around and make the Haunted Mansion movie that we all
I'm 100% there.
Yes, exactly.
I'm there for that.
That'd be great.
I think he would have such a good partnership with Disney because the spirit is the same.
Right.
Although he deals with, well, I'm not going to say that Disney doesn't deal with adult themes, but they try to pretend that they don't.
Right.
Sometimes, but there's somewhere there where those minds can meet really well.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I wonder how long before they rope him into doing a Marvel movie.
Oh, God.
No, but I think that he would do a good job. I can't hate on that. Because you look at, like, Thor Ragnarok, which was Taika Waititi.
Oh, my God.
It's absolutely a Taika Waititi movie. It's hilarious. It's bizarre.
Amazing.
It's totally off the wall. And, yes, it has the big fight. But it's a superhero movie.
Yeah.
You know, but it's definitely, you can feel that it is his movie still. You can see where the same with Black Panther.
Right.
I mean, you can feel that they really let Ryan Coogler do kind of what he wanted.
Sure.
Within reason. I mean, you know, it still has to follow the...
So I'd say that they have to make sure it's the right one.
Exactly.
For him.
I could see him doing Adam Warlock.
I would like to see him do Venom, actually do a horror Venom like we were supposed to have, and still keep, what's his name? I can't remember.
Tom Hardy.
Yes, keep Tom Hardy, but just have Guillermo del Toro make a horror version of Venom.
Yeah, but that's over at Sony.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it is because it's
Disney
Spider-Man.
only has Spider-Man. They only have Spider-Man. They do not have any of the other characters.
I'm still so mad that we were promised a rated R Venom and we got a PG-13 Venom.
Well, that's Sony for you. They love to shoot themselves in the foot.
Like, the movie still ended up being good, and I own it. I like it a lot, but God, you can feel like they took so much out of it. It's so upsetting.
Yeah, I would actually like to see him do somebody like Adam Warlock, who's kind of like a weird, slightly more horror-inspired, just fucking bizarre character, you know? And I'd like to see what he could do with it. I think he could do some interesting things with some superheroes.
Yeah,
I think he could do some interesting things with even like Fantastic Four. I mean, he did so well with Hellboy.
Yeah.
And Fantastic Four has never been in a good movie, so like this could be their chance. Disney got him back.
That would be interesting. Cuz Hellboy's kind of his thing with being a monster.
But so's Fantastic Four. I mean, they're normal people who get changed. I mean, especially you look at, The Thing. Yeah. Who goes from being a normal dude to this giant rock monster.
Yeah, I guess.
I could see it. Can't be worse than anything else that's come out for Fantastic Four.
So here's a challenge for the end of the episode, all right? While we're recording, think of a book, a horror book, or fairy tale book.
I already know what I would pick.
You would like Guillermo del Toro to direct. And it's okay if that book has already been made into a movie. Yeah. I've got one, too,
I've got one, yep.
I hope it's not the same one.
It probably is, but that's okay.
Okay.
We will find out at the end of the episode.
I don't know, I might change my mind as we go.
But that's everything I have for the biography.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you about his Oscar speech. He just, I think a lot of people saw it as, like, a Lifetime Achievement Award. I think a lot of critics really liked Shape of Water. They didn't feel like it was his best. But, like I was telling Nikki, I didn't think it was the best movie that year, but I was not mad that it won.
Right.
I was not mad that he won. I was very happy.
I think everyone was happy that he won. Everybody lost their shit. And I was happy
that the movie won. I mean, I liked it a lot.
It deserved it.
And then last year, when Alfonso Cuarón won Best Director, it was very cute because, of course, Guillermo del Toro gets up there and then, he's reading the names and then he opens the envelope and he says, "Oh, it's a name I can pronounce," because he's another, Hispanic man. Yeah.
I love him.
It was so cute.
I remember, like, the horror community after he won that award for Shape of Water, because the horror community felt like, yes, we're finally being recognized. Like, I know it's not really much of a horror movie. I mean, it is, but it is. I don't know how to explain. I mean, it's like a monster movie, So I know a lot of the people I follow that do a lot of writing in the horror community felt like, yes, finally we're being seen. We're being recognized. Monster movies are being recognized for once.
Well, and that was the year that Get Out was nominated.
Yeah.
And won. And I want to say before Get Out, I think the last horror movie to win an Oscar was The Exorcist.
I think you're right.
And I don't even know what the previous one nominated was. It may have... Well, I guess if you count... Some people count Silence of the Lambs as horror. Yeah. So I guess if you count Silence of the Lambs as horror, okay, that one was the ultimate because it won Best Picture. But
yeah,
it's very rarely taken seriously as a genre by the Academy. They think it's easy to make a scary movie. Just like they don't take comedy seriously because they think it's easy to make a comedy.
Comedy's like one of the hardest things to do.
Comedy is like incredibly hard.
Those are two of the hardest things to do. Scare people and make them laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I guess it's my turn.
Yep.
Okay. So, first of all, I want to apologize in advance. My computer died. I'm the one that's been the delay in the podcast. And my notes for this were on the computer. My computer that is at the shop now. So, I don't have a lot of notes. They're pretty unorganized, so I'm really sorry. So, I wanted to talk about Pan's Labyrinth. So, Pan's Labyrinth was the first Guillermo del Toro movie that I saw. I saw it in the theater when it came out. I saw it by myself, which for me, with huge social anxiety, who is absolutely convinced that everyone around me cares that I'm seeing a movie by myself, I felt very brave, but none of my friends wanted to see it. So, I went alone. I sobbed like a baby, and so did the two frat bros in front of me. Yeah, so I'm not going to do, like, a huge summary. I mean, I feel like most people have seen it. The basic plot is that it takes place in Spain during kind of the beginning of the Franco regime. And it's after the Spanish Civil War. It's right near the end of World War II. The Allies have invaded Spain at this point. And our main character is this little girl named Ophelia. She and her mother are moving to this, like, military camp because her mother has married and is now pregnant by a captain in the Spanish army. While Ophelia is there, she is visited by this faun who tells her that she is actually the Princess Moana, and she has to go through these trials to prove that her spirit is still pure, and then she can be reunited in this magical kingdom with her real parents. And of course, all while this is happening, her stepfather, who obviously is a huge dick, is
no kidding.
Yeah, I mean, he's a captain in Franco's army. He's like not a good person. Is fighting against these rebels, and her mother, like I said, is pregnant but is not in good health, and it has a very sad ending. I guess I won't spoil the ending, I guess, for anyone who hasn't seen it, but it made me sob. It was like a bittersweet ending. Like, you're kind of happy, but that you're also not happy. Yeah, I had kind of never seen a movie quite like it. You know, it has a lot of themes of disobedience, obviously, is one of the big themes. Civil disobedience, resistance towards fascist regimes. I'm sorry, I'm very tired. But, you know, not only does she resist her stepfather, but she also is resisting, you know, these challenges that have been sent towards her by the Fawn. And they sort of end up mirroring each other a little bit. You know, I saw something that said another big theme is war. Obviously, in the movie, I mean, it's right after the Spanish Civil War, during World War II. There's all these people trying to overthrow Franco, and people like to point to the mountain of small shoes that are in the Pale Man's room, and saying that symbolizes children who have died in war, and how they are like the most innocent victims. But anyway, one thing that I really love about this movie, I'm just gonna talk, is that
I'm sorry, I just yanked
Nikki
your
pulled my headphone out.
We've got this situation we're recording
sharing
right now.
Headphones right now.
We're making it happen.
So one thing that I really loved about this movie was that, the practical effects, obviously, it's mostly makeup and animatronics, and anything that is not, there is like a little bit of CGI. Like, I think the toad is CGI, but you can't tell. It's like really well done CGI. And I love the practical effects. I love the makeup, the score, the color. I mean, just everything about this movie works for me. It's so beautiful. And I remember reading a quote, you know, because people were kind of asking him, oh, you know, so you make these like artsy Spanish movies like Pan's Labyrinth or The Devil's Backbone, but then you also make movies like Hellboy, and some of your fans see making these blockbusters as selling out. And he said, I make movies like Hellboy so I can afford to make these little movies. Yeah. He's like, if I wasn't raking it, basically, if he wasn't providing box office hits, no studio was going to fund Pan's Labyrinth. No studio was going to say, you know what? Yeah. We're going to fund a Spanish fairy tale with no actors that anyone's ever heard of in it.
It's not in English. Pass.
Right, right.
God.
That's kind of like annoying to me, though, that somebody would say he sold out with movies like Hellboy, because Hellboy's a good movie. It's not like he went and made like a fucking Transformers movie or some shit. Like,
you know what film fanboys are like. And
whatever.
It's like hipsters, you know, like, oh, yeah. I liked that band before it was cool, and now that it's cool, all of you people who like it are posers because I liked it first. And I think that's how some people felt. Like, they had discovered him through Kronos and Devil's Backbone, which were these tiny, tiny, tiny movies that made no money in the U.S. Mm-hmm. And then he directed this huge hit, and it was kind of like, well, now you sold out.
I mean, plus, why should it matter if he's still making the same quality independent movies and he's making the blockbusters? Why the hell would that matter? It's not like he has abandoned one for the other either.
Well, and it's his career. Maybe what he wanted all along was to make these big blockbuster movies.
Sure.
I mean, who knows?
I mean, if you're a big fan of somebody, too, wouldn't you want them to succeed like that?
No, because then it makes them seem less cool that they like this person.
That's just like, I hate gatekeepers and purists and shit. Like, I used to be like that when I was in high school, but thank God I fucking grew out of it.
When they were a teenager.
Yeah, like, fuck, I can't believe some adults are like that. Like, you've got to be so miserable if you say shit like that. Like, why can't you just be like, oh my god, Guillermo del Toro just made this huge movie and made a ton of money. I'm so happy for him. I just
right.
This is terrible, but I think it's also like a male thing.
Oh, it's for sure.
I mean, it goes hand in hand.
It's for sure.
You know, it's like, I was just thinking about this the other day. The number of male bloggers, podcasters, ghost hunters, whatever, who just do it for the ego trip, but not for the love of the thing that they're discussing.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's extremely sad and infuriating to me.
Right. But we can talk about this off the podcast. Back to Pan's Labyrinth. And I always appreciate when a foreign language film like that permeates the consciousness of America. And, I mean, so many people went and saw this movie, comparatively speaking, for a foreign language movie. It probably didn't even make $100 million, but for an all-Spanish movie, again, starring people nobody had ever heard of in the U.S., it was just astonishing. I mean, it played here, for God's sakes. You know? I was still living in the Quad Cities, and it was playing here.
Yeah.
And I remember it being a huge shock when it lost Best Foreign Film, because everyone thought that was, like, the one sure bet. And I can't remember what won, but I remember that it was not as good. But, yeah, I love this movie. It's probably my very favorite movie of his. I would say if you've seen Pan's Labyrinth, I also recommend going back and finding The Devil's Backbone, because it's sort of a companion piece. That one takes place during the Spanish Civil War and is also like a spooky... That one's more like a ghost story, whereas Pan's Labyrinth is more like a fairy tale. But both amazing. Both just beautifully, beautifully made movies. And yeah, I just love it. So good. I can't believe you haven't seen it, Miranda.
I know.
You can borrow my copy if you want. Or it's probably
I think it's on
streaming
Netflix,
somewhere.
isn't it?
Yeah.
It had been on Netflix. It's probably still there. It's got to be somewhere.
I feel like I started it one day and then I didn't actually like start it. Like,
it needs your full attention, number one, because unless you speak Spanish, you have to read the captions.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it will transport you.
Mm-hmm.
It will transport you. And it just features such good performances. I mean, the little girl is amazing. Yeah. And I don't think she'd ever acted before. And she just knocks it out of the park. I remember people really campaigning for her to get an Oscar nomination for it. Yeah. And she didn't. But
of course not.
They were really pushing for her. She's very good in it. Everyone's good. And you know, he even makes you feel just the slightest twinge of sympathy for the evil stepfather at the end. You know, I mean, just the slightest bit, which to me is the mark of an amazing writer-director, that you can take someone who is a horrible person and is, like, torturing people and, like, actively trying to murder this little girl and make you almost feel kind of bad for him a tiny bit at the end. That not everybody is 100% bad or 100% good, even in a fairy tale. Because it is a fairy tale, no, the captain is not shaded very much. I mean, he's pretty much like the wicked stepmother, only stepfather in this. But again, you can excuse that because it's so clearly meant to be modeled on a fairy tale.
Right.
And then I guess we can't talk about the ending because Miranda hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
But
I'm not going to give away the ending.
I don't want to give it away.
Either.
Nope.
Okay. I don't think it's necessary.
Nope.
So.
I won't. That's all I have to say about Pan's Labyrinth. I'm sorry I didn't have any notes. It failed. But it's a great movie. Everybody should see it. If you want to see, I think, one movie that really embodies him as a filmmaker and really shows, really just shows what he can do, like the full capability, him like firing on all cylinders, I think would be Pan's Labyrinth. The writing, the special effects, the music, the performances, the directing, the colors, everything. I would say that is him firing on all cylinders at his peak. And don't let subtitles scare you. I know some people don't like subtitles, but
you'll get just as into it as
you
if you
really
were
will.
Actually listening to
and Spanish is such a beautiful language, so yeah, people should definitely give it a shot if they haven't seen it. That's Pan's Labyrinth. Thank you. Thank you. Go, Nikki. Go.
Okay. So I chose Shape of Water, which came out in 2017, but I did not get to see it until last week for some reason. Have you seen it, Miranda? Did you see that one? Okay, so everybody has seen this one. That's got to be a first.
I know.
Wow, like I'm doing a movie every single person has seen here. I'm absolutely in love with this movie now, just so you know.
It's amazing.
I don't know.
It is a really good movie.
I don't know. I'm ready to get into it. So Shape of Water is a 2017 film, and it was set in the 1960s. It follows two women who are janitors at a top secret research facility. I can't remember what it's called, but it's in Baltimore. It's like an actual, research facility.
Yeah.
So basically they spend their days cleaning up the mess made by some of the nation's top minds who can't seem to even hit the urinal when they go to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. And so Octavia Spencer is one of these. Oh my gosh. One of the women. Good. She's amazing in everything she does.
Yes.
All I can think of is that episode of Keep It where they said her role is to go, girl, you fucking that fish.
Yes. That's all I can think of when I hear about this movie now. That's all I can think of.
When you said you were doing Shape of Water, I'm like, oh my god, the fish fucking movie.
And you know what? I feel like, I don't know how many people have actually seen Shape of Water, but I know everyone thinks of it as the fish fucking movie. Yep. Fish dicks, baby.
Yep, exactly.
But we'll get into that. We will, really. I really want to say things about it. So, summary. Are we good? I don't know if I'm going to get through this. Sorry. So one day, the men, and this is a thing, the men and the women, or the very toxic masculine men and the women and the non-toxic masculine men are like obviously on separate sides of this the whole time. So the men, the big manly men, bring in a creature that they call the Asset, and he is a fish man who, the most important thing about him to them, I think, is that he can alternate between two methods of breathing, like between the gills and the lungs. So they believe, like, this is during the height of the Cold War and the space race and everything, so they believe that it's going to give the Americans an edge to get into space over the Russians. But, you know, as egos happen, they're getting in the way of the achievement of what to do with this creature. And the big bad guy of this movie is a guy named Strickland. I can't remember the actor's name. I know the actor. Anyway, he wants to euthanize the creature and study its remains. But the doctor of the facility, Dr. Hofstetter, he's a...
Oh, Michael Shannon.
Michael Shannon, yeah.
I fucking love Michael Shannon. He's insane.
I know he looked familiar, but I couldn't place him. So... the doctor is this very kindly person who he also happens to be like a Russian informant or Russian spy, and the Russians want to do something similar, like euthanize it and study his remains, but he doesn't want to see the creature killed. So this whole drama is happening while the two cleaning ladies are kind of, well, actually, only one of them, Eliza, begins to interact with this creature, and she teaches him to sign. Because she is, I was trying to figure out the best way to say this. She's aphonic, so she doesn't communicate using her vocal cords. I don't know, like, if mute is a thing we still say or not. I've tried to look it up, but...
I honestly, I don't know.
I like aphonic. Like, she doesn't... Because she doesn't talk with her vocal cords. She talks signing.
It's not... Well, but there's a difference. I mean, because there are people who are... not considered like mute, who can't necessarily speak, but they can make enough noise with their vocal cords that it adds like emphasis to their signs.
She can do that because she starts. There's a part where she starts talking to the creature, singing to the creature.
Right. So, well, but I mean that's not really realistic. It was for the movie.
Oh, I don't. Yeah.
Because how would she hear the song?
Oh, right, because it was when she was a child, wasn't it?
So if she wasn't born deaf...
Vibrations, maybe? Like, is that a thing?
Well, but if she hears it when she's a child, if she wasn't born deaf, then she would probably be able to use her vocal cords.
She's
to a
not
limited
deaf.
extent.
She's not deaf, but she cannot.
Oh, that's right.
She not
can't
deaf.
Speak.
She cannot speak using her vocal cords.
That's right.
Like loudly enough for people.
Well, then I don't know anything about that because I've never. Sorry.
I'm going to stick with.
We're totally off topic now, but I've never dealt with.
Well, it's interesting because I think the portrayal of disability was a matter of contention in this movie.
She wasn't deaf. That's right.
She is not deaf. I'm going to go aphonic, okay? So we all learned a thing today.
Speak.
Yeah. She can speak. She can sign, but she can't.
But she can't speak vocally.
Vocally. I don't know. Anyway, so she's teaching the creature to sign. She keeps bringing him hard-boiled eggs and going, egg. And I learned egg, which is awesome because I learned something I didn't know before. Let me see here. The creature, this is important, also cannot speak using its vocal cords. So she has a connection there. And she decides she's going to save him with her neighbor Giles's help.
I love Giles.
I loved him too. It was amazing. Mm-hmm. And actually, I don't know if I wrote this later in my notes, so I'll just say it now. Guillermo del Toro wrote Giles and Eliza as the same character. They are two facets of the same character. They are not meant to be separate characters. So that was even more beautiful. But it basically takes some really heavy convincing from Eliza to get Giles to help her, because this is a time of great intolerance for anything that deviates from the norm, which is straight, white, abled, middle class, male, all that. So, well, I mean, it's not like that today, but anyway. So there's this social narrative that runs alongside this love story, and Eliza signs to Richard. This is a beautiful moment. When the creature looks at me, the way he looks at me, he does not know what I lack or how I am incomplete. He sees me for what I am, as I am. He's happy to see me every time, every day. And now I can either save him or let him die. And Giles responds that the creature isn't even human, and he doesn't know why she's making such a big deal about it. And Eliza says, if we do nothing, neither are we. So Giles comes to want to help her through trying to find companionship as a gay man, and he is rejected and thrown out of a diner for like a pretty much just friendly gesture. Like, he tries to hold this guy's hand who he's been talking to, really friendly, like, advances toward this guy. So he decides, fuck yeah, we're gonna do this now. And so, thank God for Dr. Hofstadter, he's helping them, and they rescue the creature and they keep him in Eliza's bathtub. And the doctor says he does this because he does not want an intricate, beautiful thing destroyed. So while Eliza's keeping him in her bathtub, they fall in love. And so this is like where, so Beauty and the Beast element to this, and a lot of people made fun of it because he's not, but he has humanity, and that's what makes the difference, I think. And I liked it. I didn't have a problem with it at all.
Listen.
And just so you know, bringing this in, thanks to Miranda for our horror book club, we're now reading The Lady from the Black Lagoon, about the woman who designed the creature from the Black Lagoon, Milicent Patrick. And I was reading it last night and came across this tiny quote about what the creature was supposed to be like. And I think it's really what GDT was going for with this too. The director wanted a dignified creature full of humanity, something that was barely monstrous. He wanted sad and beautiful, sort of romantic, like something The Cure would sing about if they were mermen. And I was like, yeah, that's the creature. Like, he's ripped, dude. Yeah. Like, he's got the perfect body and the full lips, and he's just beautiful. So I'm all behind it. Cool. So, and the creature sometimes shows these dangerous tendencies. I don't really want to talk about it. But overall, he's very kind and capable of learning, and he has strong emotions. And the last part of the film surrounds Eliza's struggle with knowing that she has to release the creature into the ocean and also wanting to keep him with her. And I won't give away the ending, because I don't think it's necessary. I don't think you need to know yet what's going to happen. I don't want to start crying either.
Oh, I would for sure. Yeah, I cried at this one too.
Yeah, the ending was rough.
Yeah, it was really beautiful.
Yeah.
I loved it.
God, I cried though.
I did too.
I loved it so much.
You'll cry.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I even learned to appreciate it more when I watched the special features, which I kind of added some like tidbits here at the end. This film was Guillermo del Toro's dream project. Mm-hmm. And he said he'd been wanting to make it for years, and he wanted to tell, I'm going to burp, sorry. Excuse me. He wanted to tell a fairy tale for troubled times. Not only for the 60s, but for today. And like I said, for me, this is so much a story about toxic and non-toxic masculinity. And it hits home really hard because you see some really good men who have good intentions, who have love and like can save the world, have the potential to save the world. And you also see these despicable, awful men who have the tendency to destroy it. Yeah. And they're the ones who have the power. And the ending, which I won't tell you, but this kind of hints sort of, it tells us which side can win. Mm-hmm. Which side has the capability of winning, which I thought was kind of unique, which is awesome. So GDT states that he wanted to tell a Beauty and the Beast narrative, which had somehow been lost in recent monster movies. Apparently, like the love story aspect of it, usually it's just like monster is the monster, but there's never like the love story. But he wanted to reverse the role of the monster and the hero. So Strickland is the monster. And the fish man, the gill man, right. The whatever we call him, the creature is the hero. And this, I think, is what hit me so hard because this is what I think makes a good monster movie. Like, it's never the monster. That's the monster. It's people.
Right.
So, yeah. I'm over the moon about this. Like, he takes, this is a thing, is that he takes things that are well established and maybe seem like they've been done to death, and he gives them new life and uses their power in a really, really effective way. So because I'm reading The Lady from the Black Lagoon right now, which is about monster design and stuff, I really paid attention to the parts of the special features about like behind the scenes stuff and creation of monsters and stuff. So I'm like forever awed by GDT's attention to detail. Like he cares for every aspect of his films, from the costumes to the creature design to the set design to like you could even think of it as choreography. What's the guy in the suit? Is it Doug Jones? Is that his name? Yeah. Choreography. Like he just the way he moves is so expressive.
Well, and he plays
the fawn, doesn't he?
The fawn and the pale man. And
the eye guy?
Yeah,
okay, I didn't know he's called the pale man.
Yeah. Well, and one thing, I mean, about the fawn in Pan's Labyrinth is I'm pretty sure that's not Doug Jones's voice, as far as I know.
No, it isn't. Apparently, he learned all his lines in Spanish and mouthed them, but someone else dubbed over it.
Yeah. But he still gives such a performance just through his movements and his body language that it doesn't really matter that it's not him speaking.
It's crazy to put so much emotion into something so, like, he's so encumbered by everything he's wearing, it could be so awkward. But yeah, it's beautiful. So, like, I totally was really passionate about this when I wrote my notes. I was like, I love this so much! Anyway, all that attention to detail, and basically what I was saying earlier is that he saturates every aspect of his films with love, which is very unique. And here's just an example, which I put some of these connections together, and then some people were talking about it during interviews. But, for example, so the theme of the film is water, right? And so he states that love and water are the two most malleable elements of our lives. And emotion, passion, and relationships are symbolized by water, which I thought of the Suit of Cups in Toro. And that's what the story is about. So, like, nothing in his films is ever just what you see on the surface. It's all symbolic, and that's what creates a truly meaningful experience. Like, what you're seeing it's more than what you're just seeing on the screen. Yeah, I think another reason that this hit me really hard was because of the book we're reading right now, just because it's also about a woman's relationship with a creature and the power it gives her and the love she feels for it and the way it changes her life, kind of. So that, like, together, it was just like, I would seem to be reading the perfect book at the perfect time. Does that make sense? Like, is it always just following the theme of your life? Yeah, I know. So... Thanks for choosing it, Miranda, because I feel like, I had a great experience here.
Yeah. So. Well, and a quick plug, that book is written by Mallory O'Meara, and I followed her for a long time. Like, I remember following her before the book was even a thought, and then seeing her unbox them, and, like, seeing her crying over the box, like, it just... Oh. Like... I think, like, I almost cried a little bit. I love her. I've looked up to her for a long time, and she's on tour right now with her books. So, and we're reading it for book club this month. So make sure you follow her on Twitter and Instagram if you want some cool horror chick to follow. She's awesome. And read her book, because she's super cool.
I love the way that her life intertwines with Milicent Patrick's. And there's almost, like, this destiny of it. Like, she was meant to have her as a... She's almost like Milicent Patrick reincarnated or something. It's amazing.
Yeah, she's super cool.
So, what was the controversy about her being a mute? Which I'm pretty sure you can still use that word. Because I remember there were quite a few controversies about plagiarism. There were 4 or 5 different plagiarism claims.
Well, I think it's an old storyline.
I was about to say, I mean, I think some of it is that it's
an archetype now.
It's like a pastiche, almost, of things that have all been done before, but then he puts it together in such a different way that I can see where people had some claims of plagiarism, because there were several.
Yeah. For me, I took it, like I said earlier, as a way of, like, truly consciously repurposing and using conventions.
Right.
To improve it, even.
Right.
So, and that's been done... I'm sorry, I don't think the plagiarism sticks there, because that's
I don't think so either, but that's
I'm
the
not
only
saying for you. I'm just saying for people who think that,
Yeah.
I don't think the plagiarism sticks there, because look at everything Stephen King has done.
Yeah.
Lovecraftian and Poe inspiration.
We also have the Cabin in the Woods movie was full on plagiarized from a book, and it was taken to court, and they didn't even win. And it was just straight up plagiarized.
Oh, was it because of parody? Was it parody?
No, it was literally taken from somebody else's book.
And see, but that's so hard to prove, because it is. Yeah. I mean, plagiarism laws are so, because I actually just read a really interesting article about it, and they're so difficult because you have to prove not only that it was copied, but that the person who copied it knew about your story, that they purposefully copied it, and that it's so similar that someone could mistake their work for yours, which is subjective.
Yeah. Like, you basically would have had to just have changed some wording, right? I mean...
Yeah. I mean, it's so subjective that it really just depends. But, no, I never heard any controversy about her not speaking.
So, for instance, the quote that I said about, he doesn't see what I lack, like, it's implying that she actually lacks something. I think that was part of it. I read an article, a woman who does disability studies wrote it kind of trying to negate the complaints. I mean, I feel like, especially nowadays, there's always a complaint about something.
There is.
And it can be more harmful to complain about everything than it can, to...
Right. Well, and, some of it might even be cultural differences. I mean, here in the state, I mean, obviously he's not American. Well, no.
He's American.
I'm taking that back. Jesus Christ. Sergio will come through this microphone and strangle me to death.
It's okay, Sergio. I said you spoke Mexican once, and I know it's Spanish. I don't know why I said that. It's because I'm a white girl, I guess.
Was hysterical.
Oh my God. Not one of my finest moments.
It's okay. But like, I just let it slip by saying he's not American. He is American. That's a huge thing.
We're going to save that, and we're going to use it against you.
I know. Sorry, guys.
Like 10 years down the road.
Sorry, guys. Okay, so he's not originally from the... Oh my God, quit.
Sorry. I'm used to being able to move my head like 6 inches to the left if I want to.
So he's not originally from the United States, right? And in this country, the way we treat disability, which is probably pretty similar around the world, but who knows? Maybe his experience with disability was different growing up. But we treat it as the end of the fucking world. There is nothing worse that could possibly happen to you than being disabled. Those poor people. Oh my God. Oh, they must just be miserable. Oh, their poor parents. Oh God. I mean, people would rather their children possibly die from measles than have a kid with autism. Even if, I mean, not that vaccines cause autism, but if it did.
But that's the argument at the base of it, is you would rather have your kid die of measles than get autism.
Oh, and everybody else's kid, too.
That's,
Right. Yeah. Right. Then have your kid have a disability. Mm-hmm. Or have the chance of having a disability.
Yeah.
And so I can see where a lot of disability advocates, if she's talking about her not being able to speak, her disability as
a lack,
or that she's less than.
Right. But that may just be how she feels, right? Or how society makes her feel. It doesn't mean she actually is
in the 60s.
Lacking something, right?
This takes place in the 60s. I mean, people with disabilities were still pretty much locked up in institutions and kind of left to rot in these institutions. And so I because it's a period piece, I can see where, that was how she was brought up. There was something wrong with her because she didn't speak.
There is one other objection, though.
Oh, what's the other objection?
Which is her signing is atrocious. And now I don't know that because I don't know ASL, so I can't tell you one way or another. But that was another thing, is that they said the actress's signing was really bad.
That's interesting. I would have to... I don't know. I almost want to ask one of our clients who's deaf if they've seen it.
I would like to
see what they think.
You know what?
Yeah.
Someone who knows ASL, please let us know, and has seen this film.
Yeah.
Let us know what you think about the signing in it, because obviously we have no way of telling.
There are several different subsets of ASL. I mean, there are different methods to signing. Not everybody signs in the same way.
Right, okay.
So, because a lot of it depends on if you've been deaf your whole life, if you were born hearing and then something caused you to become deaf, you may have learned it in a different way, and some deaf people, I mean, they have their own, like, shortcuts on how to say words that don't necessarily translate to someone who doesn't know them, may not necessarily understand.
Sure.
You know? So it's definitely really interesting. But yeah, if anyone out there knows sign language, please tell us.
Yeah, let us know what you think about it.
Again,
we want to know.
We don't know it, so when I was watching it, it didn't dawn on me that her sign language might be bad. Mm-hmm. I wonder what was bad. Did they say what was bad about it?
Okay, the information I got was like third hand, because it was from an article trying to refute the complaints about it being offensive because of the disability aspect. Or the way it was portrayed.
So they didn't say what was bad about it.
They didn't say, they just said that someone said her signing was atrocious, or that several people said it was very bad, it wasn't accurate, it wasn't, I don't know.
That seems so strange, because you would think that they could
accurately represent that in the film.
Teach her
and there was another thing.
To do her lines.
The other thing was that they felt that an actress who needs to use ASL or uses ASL in life should be cast as her, but then the refuting of that was, well, isn't that another type of typecasting? Because don't you just then make them the person with the disability in every single movie?
But
like, we need a person who can do this over here.
But I guess the argument for that, it's like saying that when you have a non-trans actor playing a trans character, and people saying, oh, well, trans people, that's ridiculous. Are you saying that, like, Robert Downey Jr. isn't really Iron Man, so I guess he can't play that role? But people with disabilities are not given the same chances as people without disabilities. So when a disabled character comes along, it's like, that's their only chance.
Yeah, you should just give it.
Right. I mean, that may be their only chance to be in a major movie. So I mean, I can see both sides of it. I mean, I can also see where I don't know. To me, it's not quite the same as having a non-trans person play a trans character.
Or
just
whitewashing
because
a role.
she has such a... Well, that's just dumb.
Well, yeah, I know.
But I can see, you know, just because her disability is only her speech, it's not quite the same to me maybe as like someone who can walk playing a character in a wheelchair, right? Whereas someone in a wheelchair, that might be their only chance.
Gotcha.
I don't know.
I see both sides of that too.
Conversation. I do, and she was so good in the movie that you almost it's hard to fault.
Well, the people who speak ASL think, you know, maybe it wasn't that way because they have a totally different perspective on it.
Yeah. Because
all of her lines are delivered that way.
I'll have to look that up. That's
that could
really
change the acting, couldn't it? If like I don't want to say like, say someone doesn't speak English and you know it, and like they're playing someone who, you know, speaks fluent English or something, you would notice, right?
Right. Well, like, so for example, there's this show on Netflix called Narcos, and it's about Pablo Escobar. It's great, by the way, for people who haven't seen it. Totally not horror, but amazing. So the guy who plays Pablo is Brazilian. So, of course, his native language is Portuguese. But he learned Spanish for this role, right? He took, like, the full immersion course, like, where you go off for 2 months and they don't let you speak anything but Spanish. Now, to me, he sounds, like, amazing. He sounds exactly the same as all the native Spanish speakers.
But
watching it with Sergio, who is a native Spanish speaker, is like, no, you can tell.
Yeah.
He said, because it's too precise. It's like the exact grammatically correct way of speaking. And he's like, it's the same with English. You have your, like, shortcuts. Right? And he said it's the same with Spanish.
Yeah. It's like when you have somebody who's British and they speak English in a movie.
Like American, with an American accent,
yes,
you mean?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I've had to
I
hate to break it to you.
I'm fine.
They invented the language.
You know, but yeah, like, you can always tell whenever a British actor is trying to speak with an American dialect, because it's too perfect, almost.
Right. The only one who has ever fooled me was Hugh Laurie in House.
Yes. Yes.
That is, like,
I remember finding
insane.
out that he was British, and I couldn't believe it.
Here's the thing. I have seen him in British shows, and had before I watched House.
You thought he was faking the British accent?
No, but I'm sitting there watching House, and I'm thinking, that can't be the same guy. This guy is American. And my mom said the same thing, because my mom had seen British series with him, and we're like, it's not the same dude. And then it was.
Yeah.
I mean, his is, like, freaky.
Yeah, I wish.
Freaky good. It's, like, insanely good.
I know, it is. It's so natural.
It's
crazy.
too perfect.
Well, so if you know ASL and you've seen this movie...
Yes, now that we're so far off topic.
I was going to say, tell us especially what it is about the way she's signing. Is it that she's signing in correctly? Is it that she's doing it unnaturally? How is it that it's coming across, like, really, really bad to you?
Yeah.
I am so interested in it.
Because one thing that, I mean, I think she really gets right from what...
The emotion is there.
Exactly. I mean, you know, having spent a decent amount of time... I mean, we don't have a ton of deaf clients at this time, but having spent a decent amount of time around at least some people who are deaf, I mean, when they get emotional, I mean, you can tell. I mean, their signing changes, and they use their whole body to project their emotion, right? Because they can't speak their emotion. So
the volume, like,
right. So they use their whole body to express it as they're signing. I mean, you can tell when their emotions are changing, and I thought she did a really good job of that.
Yeah, I did too.
But again, please tell us, because I don't know ASL, and so I would have no idea.
I feel like we should say something else before we end this, because it's like a weird place to end.
I like all of his movies.
Okay, that's a weird jump.
Oh, no, we were going to do our thing for what book we want to see him direct.
Oh, my gosh.
Shit. I did not think about that at all.
Okay, well, we'll
you
go
can
first.
Go last.
Go ahead, Nick. You go first. It was your question.
Okay. I'd like to see him do the Graveyard Book.
Oh, my God, yeah. That's not what I was going to say.
Oh, really?
Good pick. He would be great at the Graveyard Book.
I think that story has the same spirit and fairy tale elements that, you know, he loves.
Mm-hmm.
And he could execute it really perfectly.
I totally agree with you.
But I don't know if you do, like, a children's thing, you know?
Well, he did Troll Hunters, like Miranda said. That's
and Troll Hunters is amazing. It's so good.
I've heard it's really good.
Yeah.
Graveyard Book. And him and Neil Gaiman, damn.
Oh my
what a power duo.
Yeah, I really would like to see it. So I would like to see him do, and I think at one time he talked about doing this, but then for some reason it didn't happen. I would like to see him do Call of Cthulhu.
Oh,
yeah.
that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
I just think that he could really bring the gravitas to it that it deserves and not make it super duper hokey, which I feel like it could come across as hokey. I would like to see him either do that, or I would, this is going to be totally out of left field because it's not horror related at all, but I would like to see him do Watchmen, an adaptation of Watchmen.
Oh, that'd be
because
interesting.
I think he could get the sort of hyper realistic aspect down and capture the emotion in the way that like Zack Snyder's pathetic ass really couldn't. So he peaked at the opening credits, guys. The opening credits of the Watchmen movie are amazing. They are fucking amazing. And that is the only good part of the movie. Don't watch the rest of it. Just watch the credits. Miranda.
I don't know. I think it'd be fun if he did a Venom movie, but I also don't know if it's necessarily like up his, I don't know, because he does a lot of fantasy stuff, so I can't really at the moment think of anything that's like horror fantasy. Or I've got like in my head, I've got that, I want to say it's John Keats, that super long poem about vampires, and I don't remember what it's called.
I think I would remember if there was one about vampires by Keats.
Maybe it's not by Keats.
I'm drooling a little right
Yeah,
now.
I'm trying to think.
Maybe that one's not by Keats.
You're not talking about Lamia, right? The like, snake lady? Okay.
No.
I know, I'm trying to think of a...
Oh, it's a romantic poem. It's super long.
Where'd my phone go?
I don't know.
I swear to God, it's Keats. Hang on.
Let me know, because maybe there is one I missed. You're yanking. You're yanking.
I'm sorry.
Is she leaving?
I guess I deserve it.
I was gonna look it up while you were trying to think. Epic poem about vampires.
Oh man, you're gonna get someone's fan fiction, I swear.
Damn it. It's in...
Wait, I found it.
What's it called?
Oh shit. Come on, Wikipedia. Robert Southey's?
No.
Oh, Southey's
Southey's monumental oriental epic poem,
No.
Thalaba the Destroyer.
No, that's not it.
So it looks
Hang
like
on.
there's
Well,
more than one.
I guess there's more than one.
I want
Poems.
an
There's...
epic vampire poem anthology.
Oh,
read.
It's
might
by
not have been
Lord
Keats.
Byron.
Byron. Fucking
It might be
Byron.
Byron.
I should have known.
No.
I don't
it's
know
not
how you
Byron.
pronounce it. The Giaor?
No, it's not Byron.
Jour?
Is that French?
I don't know.
It has like
God
every
damn
vowel in it.
What was this? Now I'm upset. It wasn't...
It's about Layla?
No.
No?
I swear to God.
Christabel by Samuel
Christabel.
Taylor Coleridge.
That's what it is.
Coleridge.
It's Christabel. Who is it
Okay.
by?
Oh my God!
It is Coleridge.
Sorry.
It's like a comedy of errors this week. You can tell we haven't recorded in like a month.
I
can't even get this back in my
Right?
ear.
It was Christabel by Coleridge.
Christabel by Coleridge.
Okay. That one.
That's
no,
your
wait, that one's
choice.
about witches. That's a different one. That's a different one. But that one,
No, it's not.
yes, it is.
It's
more
literally
witchcrafty
no,
than it is vampires. It's kind of it. There's another one. There's another one somewhere. I'm gonna find it. I know I'm not crazy.
The Vampire by John Stagg.
No.
Well, listen, this is all that's on Wikipedia.
I swear to God, it's Keats because I've talked to you about it before.
I swear
Nikki.
it's not Keats.
Oh my God.
You're not talking
It's
about
like this guy.
Bill Dam
like,
Some
comes-
Merci or whatever.
No, it's not
You're
that one. It's this
That's a
guy.
short
It's
one.
this whole ritual at night, and this guy like comes into this girl's room, and you can't tell.
That's not
if-
about vampires.
If he's which one is that?
That's this Eve of St. Agnes.
Yeah. Why isn't
It's
that
not
about
about
vampires?
It's not about
Maybe it's not about vampires, but it's like supernatural.
No, it's on the eve where if you fast and put something under your pillow, you're supposed to see your husband, your future
Yeah.
husband. So he goes into her room and then they leave together. Like that's
Yes.
literally it. But there's a bunch of, like, spirits about or whatever because it's the Eve of St. Agnes. But no, there's no vampires.
Okay, it's not about vampires, but I think I was probably getting it confused with Christabel a little bit, but...
I mean, the romantics. It's a little samey.
Yeah.
Yeah. Christabel would be kind of fun if he did it, but...
That would be.
Yeah.
I could get into that.
I think it would be cool.
Like Mask of the Red Death or one of like Edgar Allan Poe's more trippy stories.
Yeah, I mean,
that'd be cool.
You know, he can do a good traditional Gothic story
exactly
because of Crimson Peak.
And Mask of the Red Death is one of his more like trippy, slightly supernatural stories, right?
Yeah,
I could see that
because it's so short. I mean, it's a short story, right? He could definitely take elements of the Mask of the Red Death and do. That's
what they did with the previous version of
awesome. Clearly, I haven't seen it.
It's Vincent Price.
I haven't seen it either.
It's
Vincent Price. I knew of it.
Wow, good picks, guys.
We did it again.
We did it!
We plan to be.
God, I have to pee really bad.
Okay, go pee.
Okay, sorry, guys.
I'll take
Should we stop the recording?
And I'm going to say, just real quick, that we plan to be on a regular recording schedule now.
Yes, we will be back. We're really sorry. Again, it was my fault. My computer crapped out, and then...
I mean, what can you do?
It's continued to not be fixed correctly, I guess, so... Yeah.
What's wrong with it now?
Well, I think the charger was also bad, but they want to test it again. They're like, it's free. We're not going to charge you because we didn't fix the problem the first time, but they just want to make sure that there is nothing more seriously wrong that, like, they missed the first time around, because they're like, we don't want to send you home and have you come in a month from now and be like, it's dead
bricked.
again. Yeah, it's bricked again. It won't turn on. Yeah. So, they were super nice there.
That's good.
Yeah. All right, I'll be back.
Thank you so much for listening. Don't forget you can follow us on Twitter at QOTD Podcast, on Facebook at facebook.com/QOTD Podcast, Tumblr at queensofthedamnpodcast.tumblr.com, and YouTube at Queens of the Damn Podcast.
Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes, Podbean, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, and TuneIn Radio. You can also follow us on our blog, queensofthedamnpodcast.wordpress.com, to find bonus content and extra information on our episodes.
If you would like to donate to our show, you can find us at patreon.com/QOTD podcast, where you can receive special perks as a listener for becoming a monthly patron. If you would like to make a one-time donation, you can send it to QOTDpodcast@gmail.com on PayPal. We'll see you next week.